This week echoes urgent calls from hospitals for more supplies. One administrator cited a 3 to 6 month delay for essential items, including those critical N95 face masks. Our Dr. John LaPook looks into the PPE supply chain.
We don't have enough. You know what I mean? It's one N95 mask for the entire shift.
One night recently, there was only one gown on the floor.
Every day when I go to work, I feel like a sheep going to slaughter.
What's up, guys? Ravi here from Period 3.
Today, I'm going to be showing you guys what I've been working on lately. So, as you saw in the news clip there's a big shortage of PPE because for the coronavirus, healthcare workers need it. And so, since I have a 3D printer, I thought I could probably help out in some way. So I started looking online for designs, and turns out a few people had already made some face shield designs. So I started printing, and then I contacted Verdugo Hills Hospital, and I sent them some of the designs. Luckily, the FDA and the National Institute of Health were able to study some of these designs for clinical use and approve them. So Verdugo Hills Hospital got right back to me and said, hey, these are good. We can use them in a clinical setting. And so give us as many as you can. And so I got to work printing as many of these as possible. This is a quick time lapse of my printer printing a stack of face shields. So this is what my desk kind of looks like right now. I'm just assembling a bunch of these. So this is a quick time lapse showing how I assemble one face shield. Basically, when it comes off the 3D printer, it's kind of hairy. It has these little strings and stuff. So I have to clean it up, make sure that there's no surface area for virus to get in there. Make sure it's nice and clean. And then I hole punch this plastic sheet and attach it to the frame. It's actually a really simple design. Basically, you just hole punch a plastic sheet 2 times, make 6 holes, and they go into the frame's little nubs. You can see this spacer there. That's what allows me to make a perfectly spaced holes so that they attach properly. So after I got approval from Verdugo Hills, I hit up some guys in the robotics team. So here's Adam. He's a super AP and a senior, and he made 94 face shield frames. And Sako, he's an alum. He's making some as well. So a big shout out to those guys. So as you may have noticed in the big box of face shield frames that Adam printed, we're making these in vertical stacks. And the reason behind that is it saves a lot of time. 3D printing them vertically, you can print a lot at once. You don't have to worry about going back and taking off your finished part and then starting up a new one like every hour. So the only thing is it's kind of hard to get the spacing right, and it's a bit annoying to calculate every time you want to make a print. So what I did is I created this program that does it all for you, as you can see here. Basically, what this does is you put in a few settings about your 3D printer, and it'll generate stacks for you. And because me, Sako, and Adam found this to be so useful, I decided to put it up online so other people can use it too, on a website called Thingiverse, basically like a website that hosts 3D printed stuff. And so far, as of the time of this video, it's been downloaded a few hundred times, so that's pretty exciting for me. I wanted to show this to you guys so you can see that if you know a little bit of code, you can, even for something like a physical 3D printed project, use it to make you more efficient or just to help you out. So even for something like this, I was able to make just a quick little script that ended up being super useful. So the other thing I've been making are these surgical mask strain relievers. So as you can see, normally they go around the ear. So what this thing does is it relieves the strain such that the pressure is no longer on the ears, and this makes it more comfortable to wear for long periods of time. So as Dr. Neato would say, this is our customer, or one of them at least. She's a nurse from Verdugo Hills Hospital, and she came to pick up the first batch of completed face shields and surgical mask strain relief. Alright guys, so this is the GitHub where I'm hosting all the files related to this project, and if you do want to get involved, check it out. Especially if you have a 3D printer, please contact me and check out this page for all the files and links you need to get started.
Are you walking around always thinking, oh, could I make this? Oh, could I make that? Oh, could I
Yeah,
make this?
yeah, pretty much. Like when I first got a 3D printer, like I've always had ideas to make stuff. I just didn't always have like a way of actually making them into reality.
Ah,
And so when I first like saw what a 3D printer is, I was like, I have to have this thing. This is so
uh-huh.
cool. But my parents weren't very convinced. So they're very expensive.
Yeah.
So I spent like basically 2 years saving up like a little savings or gifts or odd jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was like spending all my time, all my free time, just like researching 3D printing and like how it works, just every YouTube video and guide and everything I could get my hands on.
Uh-huh.
And, so by the time it was like the summer before high school, I finally had enough for this 3D printer I was saving up for. And like it went on sale, just like I had a certain amount of money and I needed a little bit more. And then it went on sale and I had the exact amount I needed. So I just instantly bought it. And then the summer before high school, I was like taking it apart and putting it back together and making stuff with it and just applying all the stuff I had kind of learned on the computer to real life.
Okay. So you had like this, you are naturally like mechanically thinking about how to make things, and then the 3D printer was like this perfect storm that just happened to be like, you know, around by the time that and then you saw what it could do, and then it was just a matter of you getting it in your hands. How many 3D printers do you still have? The original, or do you have more, or how many do you have now?
So I still have the same one. I was thinking about getting a second one a bit ago, but I don't really see the need because, I mean, when I got this thing, it was like, it's not a great printer. And so pretty much like every important component has broken at one point. So I actually learned a lot by like replacing all the bad stuff.
Okay. Okay. So now you know how to build a 3D printer.
Yeah. So basically, like, there's not really a need now for me to get a new one because I've already put a bunch of money and new parts into this one after they broke.
Yeah.
And I put higher quality stuff than that was originally in there.
Uh-huh.
So now I can get pretty much like the equivalent of a way more expensive 3D printer quality out of my upgraded machine.
Wow. So you have upgraded it basically from the
heavily.
Oh, that's cool. Is it in the room where you are?
Yeah, it's kind of messy right now, but I can show you if you want.
Yeah, can you show us? We won't judge you. Or maybe we will, but who cares? just so we have a visual.
All right, here we go. So this is a 3D printer.
Cool.
This is my printer. So I have this little table for it, where I have all the filament and all the other pieces. So this kind of printer is really old because this is like where the computer is, and it's separate from the actual machine.
Yeah.
So usually if you buy a 3D printer nowadays, like the computer and everything is all like right here in a tiny little touchpad or something.
Yeah.
So you can tell how much things have advanced. Like if you now buy one, you can get something cheaper than what I spent on, and it's like way better than this. But I make it work just fine.
Right. You know, the fact that you understand the parts and you were able to upgrade them, like that's really powerful, you know, in multiple dimensions, I think.
Thank you.
I'm in my bathroom, Raphael. Have you ever been in my bathroom before?
A couple times.
Okay, that's pretty weird. Can you explain what you were doing in my bathroom?
You needed new glass.
Can you tell us your business? Like, why were you here doing that? Tell us a little about that.
We have a glass company that specializes in all specialty glass. That is stained glass, showers, mirrors.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
We have invented a funnel that now has expired its license. It's been more than 20 years. We have a caulking gun, which is really going to go to market in September, hopefully, after the hardware show in Las Vegas that we're planning to attend. And we have still more tools coming. I have an interest in inventing a new ratchet, like you would use for driving nuts and bolts. And for that, I had asked one of your students, Ravi Riley, to help me with it. And he's been at it a while now, a couple of years.
I ended up inviting you to speak to my class at lunchtime to expose the kids to that patenting process. And it was, I would say, you know, we have people come in at lunch, and I would say your speech was relatively well attended. And in the process of giving that speech, you made a connection to Ravi. And what I'd like you to do is explain from your perspective how you singled him out as somebody that might be good for you to help you do your work.
Well, as with most presentations, you have a section of the audience that listens, a section that, a portion that maybe is okay with it, and a portion that you're never going to reach. But in your class, most of them were quite attentive, and they were very respectful. And during the question answer time, some asked some very good questions. In Ravi's case, he actually wasn't asking many questions during the presentation or during the question and answer, but he came up to me after the presentation and waited patiently for a turn to ask a question regarding injection molding and 3D printing, as well as something that he had been working on and wanted my opinion on it. So he happened to be well prepared. He took out this little thing he had printed on his 3D printer. And what impressed me was his manner of speech, his way of presenting, and his thoroughness in his question. And then he listened, he waited for an answer. That was part of it. He, as it turns out, I kept him after the period of the questions longer than probably I should have, not knowing that he had another class to go to. And so he started to leave for that class and realized he wasn't going to make it in time. And he came back to see if you could give him a note to let the next teacher know why he was coming late to class. You had stepped out of the room, and in essence, to try to make sure that he would be okay, I wrote him a note to let the next teacher know that, in fact, he had not been doing something wrong, but rather I delayed his return. I liked that thoroughness. I liked that way of wanting to dot his I's and cross his T's and make sure that he was covered. Somebody else might have not thought about the repercussions of such a small thing, but he did. That impressed me. So
cool.
Between his manner of speaking, his obvious abilities with the 3D printer, and his thoroughness in wanting to touch the right bases, I thought this kid has something that I could use for my benefit and then for his benefit, because it was going to give him a real life opportunity to learn about what it takes in real business to take something to market.
When I heard he was coming, I was like super interested because I like to make stuff and like invent stuff. So when I saw like, oh, we have an actual inventor coming and talking about how to turn like some idea you made into an actual like product with a patent and everything, I was like, oh, I have to listen to this guy. And so after his whole talk where he showed like some of the things he's invented and got patents for, and then took those ideas to market and actually like made them successful products, I was like, oh, this is so cool. So after his like lunch talk, I waited till he was done and then went and talked to him, and I showed him some of the stuff that like I make, and I was like, oh, like this is so cool. I really want to learn more about this stuff, and I really like this stuff you showed. And then he was super interested in some of the stuff that I showed him. One of the things was like a really simple, just if you take like a mechanical pencil, like on the end of it, there's like a eraser, but you don't get to use the whole eraser because it like wears thin.
Yeah.
So I made these tiny little circles, like little discs that you can stack inside there, so you can use the whole eraser.
Okay.
So I didn't show him anything like very impressive, and I also showed him like a fidget spinner or something probably, and I just remember like I was like kind of surprised, like why is he so interested in my simple little things, you know?
Yeah.
So I just really felt like I learned a lot from his talk.
You ended up hiring
I
him.
did. Obviously, Ravi has a good mind. I first wanted to make sure that my bases were covered with him. And so we arranged to have a meeting with his parents, making sure that they were aware that I was legitimate, that I had a legitimate interest in what he could bring to what I needed, namely someone who understood design, someone who understood 3D printing. And since he had a 3D printer, it made it much easier for us to move forward. What I wanted to develop with the ratchet was something that I needed a prototype, and I wanted to see if he could help me with the working model of it. So after discussing it with his parents, after agreeing on a wage as well as timing of how we would work, and since he could do most of the work actually at his own house, we set up a situation where he would meet with me maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks to do progress reports and see what he had come up with. But he understood what I wanted fairly quickly, and then started working on how to manipulate the design of the piece so that he could also work it at home. And he got me linked to his system, which is different than mine. He helped me relative to the technical side of how to communicate electronically much better. And then in the process, he also designed our website.
How has working for Raphael Ben? Can you say a little bit about that? Just like sort of explain what you do and what you get out of it.
Sure. Yeah. So he gave you his phone number, and then I called him and he offered me a job, which I was super surprised by. And turns out he had an application for something he invented where he needed, he couldn't really prototype it without a 3D printing sort of design, because I can't say too much, but because the way it is, it has to be
part of the invention, right? It's an invention.
Right. So
did you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
I did, yeah. Cool. I had to sign an NDA.
Cool.
But basically what I do is I take the sort of idea of what they made and kind of like a rough sketch, and then I'm turning that into like computer models. So I'm counting up the whole invention, and then taking that and turning it into a functional prototype using 3D printing.
Wow, cool. And is it fun? Like, are you digging it?
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I get to like work from home, and I have a whole spreadsheet on like a cloud server thing, so he can see I'm doing the work I'm saying I'm doing on the spreadsheet.
Okay, good.
It's great. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
And also, are you learning about, like, he's in business for himself, and does that look good to you, or like this is now looking into the future? Like, where does Ravi see himself, 10 years from now?
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see them like operating their own small business and being pretty successful. Do
you think you'd like to do it?
Yeah, I think someday I would like to have my own thing. Maybe not immediately out of college, but definitely at some point.
Cool.
And it's been really cool because they not only like, once they saw some of the stuff I was doing, they also at the same time needed to sell some of the products they had like just finish this whole process for. So I ended up also making them a website to sell the products that we're developing. So I kind of got to see like, here's one thing where we just have the idea, we're turning it into a product. And then I also saw a product turn into something that goes to market.
Cool.
Kind of saw the whole process, which is really cool.
And one day he commented to me as he was designing a certain part of this tool. He says, "This is really cool to think that one day something that I helped build is going to be on a shelf in a store for people to buy." And at that point, I could see that he really connected between not just the idea of it, but the effort it takes to make it a real product in the store.